Thanks for coming out. We'll do a couple songs and then we'll talk and then we'll do a couple more songs and then we'll get the fuck out of here. Closer to me than who I used to be. How can half of everything feel like less than nothing? Afraid to open my eyes to nothing but open sky. Unconditional love decays. Only fossilized hearts can break. Every piece is indivisible. Love free of division got crossed. Codified to petitions at cost. You exercised apparitions and I got lost in a half-life. Matter decays exponentially. Half-lives await us all eventually. All winds up in the ground. It's gone, gone, gone. Unconditional love decays. Only fossilized hearts can break. Every piece is indivisible. Love free of division got crossed. Codified to petitions at cost. You exercised apparitions and I got lost in a half-life. I got lost. I got lost. I got lost, but now I've found that it's coming back around. Unconditional love decays. Only fossilized hearts can break. Every piece is indivisible. Love free of division got crossed. Codified to petitions at cost. You exercised apparitions and I got lost in a half-life.
I want to say something so I can scroll the fuck out of there. If I say I said it again, so now I gotta look at.
Not stuck.
I gotta stop saying fuck so that. Oh shit! Nah, this is bad. All right. Oh. Okay. We'll do another song now. We'll do Every Third Thought. All right. Every Third Thought.
Thought on the future and the past. All these thoughts on things that don't last. Every second thought on what's false and true. Every third thought on you. Every third thought on you. Every thought on what was once green and new. All these thoughts like colors fade to blue. Every second thought feels borrowed and untrue. Every third thought on you. Every third thought on you. Every third thought on you. Why must the sky feel blue? Why must my thoughts turn into you? Now as the seasons change, why do I remain the same? Why do I remain the same? Why do I? Most every thought on what I have lost. Can't buy forgiveness if you don't know the cost. Every second thought just feels like a clue to every third thought on you. Every third thought on you. Every third thought on you. Why must the sky feel blue? Why must my thoughts turn into you? Now as the seasons change, why do I remain the same? 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 Why do I remain the same?
Oh, good. My mother would be okay with that. We'll do one more, and then we'll do a little chatting. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. What do you want to do? Hell or High Water. Okay. Do Hell or High Water.
done some good, I've done some bad, like any man, I bet. A man of words is a man of lies, but words is all I get. I can't make you feel safe and sound. They got guns and crosses for that. I can only hang around until you realize where it's at. 'Cause I can't make it rain, and I can't make it shine, and I can't turn this shitstorm into some rainbow sun shower of holy red wine. But the test of our love, in the test of my love, in the test of our love, darling, yeah, it's multiple choice, I gotta mark none of the above. But I said I love you forever, come hell or high water. Well, baby, floods in, take my hand, fire purges, let rivers wash us clean of our sins. I'll see you all in white again, we'll beat the devil, or it will be well. I will stand here forever, come on, rushing waters, heartbreaking hell. I can't turn day into night, I can't turn lead into gold. Not even sure I can see the light to get us off this goddamn dead end road. 'Cause I can't make it rain, I can't make it shine. Could try to erase the past of pain, but honestly, baby, who has that kind of time? So the test of our love, when push comes to shove, in the test of our love, darling, yeah, it's multiple choice, I gotta mark all the above. 'Cause I said I'd love you forever, come hell or high water. Well, baby, floods in, take my hand, fire purges, let rivers wash us clean of our sins. I'll see you all in white again, we'll beat the devil, or it will be well. I will stand here forever, come on, rushing waters, heartbreaking hell. I won't wipe away the tears you cry with any tissue of life. You can build your life on empty promises, or with a man who promises to try. See, 'cause I can't stand out in the rain, and I can't work under the sun, and I can't outwait your disdain till all this nonsense is done. I said I love you forever, come hell or high water. Well, babe, the flood's in, take my hand, fire purges, let rivers wash us clean of our sins. I'll see you all in white again, we'll beat the devil, all will be well. I will stand here forever, come on, rushing waters, heartbreaking hell.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey. So first off, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. I want to start with like some broader questions and then sort of work my way down to more specific stuff about your work.
I like your strategy.
Thank you. So first question is like in tech. So we have this.
Tech? You lost me.
We have a huge. One of our buzzwords is pivoting. And you've done academia. You went to Princeton, Yale, all but dissertation.
True.
Movies, TV shows, X-Files, Californication, and now music. So I guess my question for you is: you seem to have
novels.
pivoted.
I have a third novel.
Too.
I don't want to. I pivot.
Novels too. I wanted to ask you more about that later as well. I read Bucky fucking Dent.
You did?
Yeah, I did. So
That's
yeah,
it?
you seem to
You
have.
read it? You didn't say anything about it?
No, I would be giving compliments later on.
Oh, okay.
So you seem to
I
have
don't like
pivoted.
that strategy. I like the strategy of compliments off the top. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so you seem to have pivoted a lot successfully in your career. So how were you able to do it? What sort of challenges did you face?
Well, I mean, I just think it's not that I get bored so easily. I just think I just have looked for other modes of expression to convey whatever it is I feel I was put here to convey. So just finding different ways of expressing whatever it is on my mind or my heart at the time. So, I started out as a writer, unpublished, and then I became an actor. And then I went back to being a writer, actor, and then I discovered music and started writing, lyrically that way. And also rediscovered myself as a prose writer at the same time. So I don't know, it wasn't really like intentional. It's more just like, I don't know how to phrase it in a way that makes total sense, but it's just like looking for another window out or window open. To communicate something through that open window. I've lost it now. But I think, but your question, it afforded me a lot of opportunity because I had notoriety as an actor to be given a listen as a musician or a read as a novelist. At the same time, though, I'm open to attacks of just being a dilettante. So it's both. I get an opportunity to reach more people than I probably would if I didn't have any kind of notoriety, but also I don't get taken seriously, like, what the fuck are you doing? Why don't you just stay in your own lane?
Yeah. Is your Twitter tagline still dilettante?
No, but that's good, it was. When I used to actually involve myself in it.
Yeah, when I first followed you, it was dilettante.
Oh.
I really like that tagline.
Oh, bring it back. Brad? Dilettante.
So I guess my second, so I think from a lot of your writing, like I said, I read Bucky fucking Dent. I really enjoyed it. You can talk more about it if you want. It's his David's second novel. It's set so the main character lives in the Bronx. Much of it it's like all set in New York.
Yeah.
In Hell or High Water, a lot of your songs also reference New York in your first album.
I know.
So, what are your favorite
What's
New
my
York
problem?
haunts? Where can we find you on like a random Tuesday night?
Home. I grew up in New York, so it's in me just as a reference. It has all this feeling for me, and I don't say that I love New York. I'm not one of those guys. I kind of hate it, with emphasis on hate a lot of the time. So I find myself just writing about it in a weird way, as much as I always talk about leaving it. It's just I feel like I'm destined to never leave it in some way, even though I think I've been trying to leave it for most of my adult life. So I think that's kind of the push-pull with me in New York. I mean, I grew up not far from here. I grew up, I told you, 11th Street and 2nd Avenue, and it's all very different now. But this is my favorite neighborhood of New York, the East Village and the West Village. To me, that really has a lot of nostalgia because I used to hang out. I did hang out here. There was a movie theater where the Equinox is now, which tells you everything you need to know about New York.
Right.
On Greenwich and 12th, I think it is.
Okay. So I think I want to get a little more into your current album. I know that some of your songs, I think Spiral was written by your bandmates.
Yeah.
Marble Sun was kind of a collaborative effort. I assume.
Yeah.
The rest is solo. Do you prefer?
Well, not really solo, but the other ones would have been songs that I first wrote on my own and then brought to the guys, and we worked on them. So yeah, I guess the inspiration would be solo, and then the actual execution of them would be more of a team effort.
I see. Do you prefer like one over the other?
I'm just not good enough to really bring it home myself. I mean, I'm not like a schooled musician, and I throw chords together and put words and melodies on those chords, and then, when we first started working, I will introduce you to the guys when they come back up, if they haven't left already. Have they left? I was like, they were like, oh, this song needs a bridge, and I'm like, what's a bridge? So architectural question I didn't understand. So it's been a learning process for me collaborating with them. I'm sure a learning process for them. And I will say that one of the good things about working with somebody who has no education in that particular field and just has feel is that I make mistakes that are interesting sometimes. I make mistakes that are horrible sometimes, but I also make mistakes that are interesting, and that might make sense here at Google. I don't know how they tell you to be in the culture or whatever.
Fail fast.
Fail fast?
That's what they tell us.
I don't understand what that means. It means if you're on a bad road, get off it quickly?
Yeah, I guess like make mistakes but learn from them fast.
I used to always quote this Beckett thing, which was fail again, fail better. I wonder if it's been ripped off by you guys. Fail fast. All right, fail fast. I'm going to ponder on that.
So related to that, a little birdie told me, or some publication I read, that you didn't pick up a guitar until you didn't learn guitar until 3 years or so before Hell or High Water.
Yeah.
Was there a reason why, first of all, I guess, do you regret picking it up so late? And was there a reason why you chose to, self-learn versus get a teacher, or, when you obviously have the resources, right?
It's funny.
David, we just got a check-in. We can afford guitar lessons.
You guys want to take it over? It's a good question because I actually have an answer for it, which is I didn't want any homework. I mean, I didn't want it to feel like I was doing it for anybody. I just wanted to teach myself the chords and the songs that I wanted to play on my own, in my room, by myself. Nobody ever asked me to sing. As that first song was rough. I have trouble. It's like my pitch is learned. So nobody ever said, David's got to be in the choir because we got to hear that boy sing. So there I am, learning my chords and singing as best I can in my room. And the last thing I wanted was to have to. All my life I've been doing homework, as you referenced. I've been in school. When I act, I got to learn lines. I got to show up prepared. I have homework every day. I didn't want homework. I didn't want somebody to have to, you did not practice, David. You did not do your scales. So I just wanted to be fun without any kind of pressure. So this is the only time in my life it's ever been. Everything I've ever done was for somebody else's appraisal. So it makes no sense that I would actually bring out this music for other people's appraisal at this point. But that's where I'm at.
So you want to keep it as your own thing, right? Just you?
Well, no, obviously not. Obviously not. I bring it out. I at some point, I started to feel like it was worthwhile and it was good, and I wanted to share it. And it has a lot to do with the guy who just spoke, Brad Davidson. He was really pushing me to, get better, and said the songs are worthwhile. And so, it was just me being pushed eventually. And then it's just ironic that, something that started out just for me, ends up being something that I do in public.
I think in the Cambridge sort of...
It's just I can never get all those guys to come to my house with all their stuff and set up in my living room, so I got to do it out here.
I think in the Cambridge performance that... so David also performed in our Cambridge office.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You were joking that, people used to tell you, don't sing, they told you like you weren't a singer, and then you
Right.
got a voice teacher, and
Yeah.
that sort of reminded me of kind of the age-old question of like talent versus grit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Like, you're
Yeah.
obviously a great singer now.
No, no. But I have a voice, you know, and I get up there and I sing. But I'll make mistakes, you know. I'm pitchy, like they say on American Idol, you know, pitchy. But grit versus talent, I think grit is a talent, you know. I played a lot of sports in my life, and I've seen guys with tons of talent but no grit. And you kind of tend to blame people with no grit in a way that you wouldn't blame somebody with no talent. You know, and I really do believe that grit is a talent. I don't know if it's learned or if it's genetic, but it's one thing I've tried to teach my kids is resiliency. I guess that's another word for it. Is the ability to keep at something when you suck. And that was one of the reasons why I took up guitar, aside from wanting to please myself in my room, was I had young kids, and I was adamant that I would find something that I didn't know how to do, and I wanted them to be musicians, not for their job, but I just wanted them to have that opportunity in their lives. And I thought, well, you know, I'm always preaching at them that you got to keep working. So I'm going to show them I'm going to work. You know, I'll try to get better at this thing that I'm not good at. And, you know, lucky me, they both play guitar now. My son's actually a really good guitar player at this point, so way better than me. So, you know, when you start young, there's a real advantage. But,
Do you guys jam together?
you know, if I sneak in, like he doesn't want me there, you know. But if I sneak in with a guitar, you know, if he's playing, but he plays. He loves like the music that I grew up with. He listens to like late '60s, '70s tunes. He's playing "Wish You Were Here" by Pink Floyd, and he's like he's in a time warp that I love, and I hope he never gets out of.
I guess so. In this.
So I'm a big fan of grit, I guess. I'm a fan of talent as well.
Okay.
But
That's a thesis.
Yeah,
Grit.
I'm all about the grit.
Okay. So I guess in this album, you, I know like one of the songs, Jericho, is a song kind of written to your father.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any songs that you particularly hold close to your heart, or you're kind of agnostic?
Well, I'm agnostic with a yearning for, you know, something greater. Sure, I think we all have to be joined with something greater than ourselves or our egos. But I think, you know, all the songs, I was thinking like, oh, I'm at Google, I'm going to say something really clever. That all the songs are like, and I don't know what writing code is, but all the songs are like writing code. Language is like writing code. I don't know what writing code is. Let me just emphasize that. But language is a code. We think of language as something that's opaque and transparent to our thoughts, but it's not. It's an actual code, and it's slippery and it's inexact. And so when I write songs, I love that fact. When I speak, I don't love that fact. Or when I try and make my heart clear or my mind clear to somebody, then it's frustrating because words are always inadequate. But in a song, it can get much bigger than, you know, you're writing about something, but it's coding for something else. It's not what code means. I know. I think, so forgive me, but I just had that thought coming over here. But what was the question? Jericho is about my father. Coded. Yeah. A lot of my songs, like Half-Life, is, you know, the code is, you know, you could say it's divorce, you could say it's midlife, you know, there's many different ways into that song. And I deliberately am vague, specifically vague enough to make it both personal to me and hopefully universal to other folks.
So it's like, as any artist, you leave it up to the interpreter. You put it out there, and then...
Well, yeah, I mean, I think any song... I mean, you know, I could sit you down and I could walk you through a song and tell you what I thought I was writing, and then it'll be interesting if you said, well, actually, I thought that song was about this. And hopefully what your interpretation wouldn't be about, well, something happened in David's life and he did this and he did that, but it would be like to your life. So, yes, something especially less about movies, television, and novels, and more about music, which to me is very much... You give that to other people, and you let them kind of make it their own for them. this song now belongs to you, and you make it mean what you want. I think more than the other art forms, songs are really like that.
So before I ask this final question, if anyone in the audience has Q&A questions, you can start lining up in the 2 microphones on the side now. No one's getting up. Okay.
Wow.
So I think a lot of us who work here.
The band. You guys want to ask me anything?
So a lot of us who, I think people in general strive to keep improving, right? So, and like you put out an album and now you have a second one, you have 3 books, you have 2 books out now, you have one forthcoming, Miss Subways, a third one coming out in May, Miss Subways. How do you approach your work and just like continuing to improve?
I think you just improve by doing. I think that's how I learned how to be an actor. I mean, I was lucky enough to get a job. I started fairly late, I thought, 27-ish. I'd gone to graduate school, as you mentioned.
Like a summer job, right?
Yeah, well, and it turned into that, yeah. So I really was lucky in that one of the first jobs I got was the X-Files, and I got to I had to work every day for like 14 hours a day being an actor. And after a couple of years of that, I learned. But I didn't know. I thought I knew. I guess what's blissful is that if you think you're better than you are in the beginning, I don't know how you can teach that to somebody, but it's like, have more confidence than you should have, and then you go forward and you try things, and then eventually as you get actual experience, you realize, oh no, you actually sucked back then, but that time has passed and now you're okay. So you don't have to worry about it so much, unless it's my case when it plays in reruns and you get to watch how bad I was.
All right, we're gonna open up for Q&A. I guess we'll start here because there's more people there.
Hey, David, how are you? I'm Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey, so you're clearly a multi-talented artist, as we saw you perform today. Curious to know which musicians, dead or alive, have inspired you to make your music, or any favorite songs you have?
Well, I mean, to say that I'm inspired would be to say that I could actually do something in the vein of them on purpose. I can't do that. I mean, I'm more of an unconscious songwriter because like I said, I'm not schooled in that way. So if I tried to write a Beatles song, I couldn't do it. But certainly, I feel inspired by the Beatles or Petty or Bowie or Sly and the Family Stone, and I do want to get a little more funky in my music. I want a little more
George
sliding.
Clinton-esque?
Who? George Clinton? That's a little too funky.
That's like super funk.
Atomic Dog, yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, really, Sly and the Family Stone for me. Even like 70s, like Ohio Players, stuff like that. But I don't even know. We got to talk about doing shit like that. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. Fleetwood Mac is another band that I really like the sound of. The Stones I love, but I don't know how I'm influenced by them, but
You definitely have a Petty sound.
Petty,
Keep it going.
Yeah, Petty.
Thank you.
Petty Wilco. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello. I'm also a native New Yorker. I appreciate what you said about loving it and wanting to leave it. I'm actually leaving to move to LA, and I was wondering if you could give any advice to a New Yorker moving to LA and what to do.
Sunscreen, I think. I love LA. I got to say. I mean, I think if people want to leave LA too. I don't know. Where are you going to move in LA? You don't know. You don't know where.
I'm not sure. Maybe Santa Monica.
Oh yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah. No, you're fine. Santa Monica. I love Santa Monica, Venice. I love. If you come from New York, you kind of want to see the ocean. I feel, and I always like to see the ocean. So that's kind of where I've lived in LA. I feel like I like to see the end of the world, the edge of the world. I like to see the edge of the world. I like to see no more people. Just fish.
Hi, David. Thanks for coming. My name's Tibby. My question for you is, I think fans of yours, we all know you for your sense of humor. And I think even back in the X-Files days, we saw you inject humor into what could otherwise be like a really dramatic character. And then you kind of finally got to explore that in Californication. So my question is,
Was starting out in such a serious character and kind of a serious world, was that kind of almost a struggle to be able to show that side of yourself or tap into it?
Well, it was more like a perceptual thing for others, because the character was so, well, he was dry, but you had to be paying attention if you wanted to think Mulder was funny. It was very easy to think of him as not funny at all. So, and it was important for me always to inject that, as you say, into the show, and it was always something, you know, even going back to the last time we did it this year, it's just, the fight is always, you know, me wanting to make it funny and real, and the studio saying, but people are dead, you know? And to me, that just was never a good enough argument, you know? To me, the funny is the gold of it, you know? So it was more, but it was more when I was coming off the show, just to, people didn't perceive me that way. No, other people didn't perceive me that way. I mean, it's just, I don't look funny, I think. I don't know. I don't look like I'm going to be funny or something. So, yeah, I had to struggle with that a little. And it was also finding the right comedy for me. I mean, when I got off the X-Files the first time, it was really the heyday of, like, you know, Ben Stiller and even going to, like, Jim Carrey, Steve Carell, Will Ferrell, and these are different kind of comedy than I do. And so I was kind of forlorn about all that. I was like, I can't go against those guys doing that stuff. I was looking for more like 70s style comedy in the movies. So when I took Californication, it was really like, oh, that's kind of what I can do, is, you know, articulate in that way, and not like a man-child, not like a boy, like a man in a man's world and whatever, you know, doing that stuff. So I thought I could do that.
Definitely. It was super hilarious. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Corey.
Hi.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
You've worked in a lot of different mediums, TV, film, music, writing, and they all have really different ways of pulling in your creative process. Which do you really prefer? What do you think reflects your work as an artist? Collaborative work, or kind of individual heads down in your room alone work?
Well, both. I mean, I think the novels represent my most selfish, just me in a room. You know, I have an editor and he edits me, but it's really that's just coming from me. That's not collaborative. Music is very collaborative with the band. I need it. Film and television is by nature extremely collaborative, and I love that. A good director is like a good president, hires people who are better than he is or she is at the things that he or she doesn't do. And we see what happens when that doesn't happen. Although it's almost an impossibility to think of somebody who's not better than our current president at anything. And yet he finds people that are less better at it than he is. Interesting. So that's what a director does. A director is like the immune system of the film. He keeps all the bad ideas out and lets other people play with their good ideas. So I really I do like to collaborate very much. But there came a time when I wanted to sit down and just write in my own voice, and that's what the novels kind of represented.
All right, I'm sorry, guys. We don't have time for any more questions.
Yell it out. Why male models?
David, do you and your band have a...
I don't remember which it was. I can't remember which was the hand that I modeled.
Oh, yeah.
Left. It was before this. Bull of a watch catalog.
Do you and your band have time for one more song?
Yeah.
Cool.
You asked if there was a song that was meaningful to me. So actually, the last song that we're going to do also involves my father. It's called "Stranger in the Sacred Heart," and this we were touring in Europe, and we were in Paris, and I went to this church called the Sacred Heart, which is in the neighborhood of the hotel I was staying at, and I was told by the folks there that people the custom there is to pray for others, not to pray for yourself, and actually to pray for the world, really. Not just Paris, not just French people, but actually the world. And I thought, I'd never heard that before. And I really liked it. So this song, along with the fact that my father had died in Paris a few years earlier, kind of came together. It's called Stranger in the Sacred Heart.
Father died, I find it very hard to hide. So many days gone by, but I let it slide. Famine, ignorance, and war, I keep just outside my door. It's me, myself, and I let it slide. Let it slide. But down at the Sacred Heart, everyone plays someone else's part. Strangers in their rows pray for people they don't know. Just strangers in the Sacred Heart. My mind alone can't crack the code. In druzy streets I somehow know my feet take me where I need to go. They just slide. Just gotta let it slide. Down to the Sacred Heart, everyone plays someone else's part. Strangers in their rows pray for people they don't know. Just strangers in the Sacred Heart. Yet another mother's tongue, the universal bell is rung. Haven't done enough for no one. Haven't done enough for no one. Haven't done enough. Pay my dues, anonymous in ancient pews. In Sacre-Cœur I lost my pride. I let it die. Just couldn't let it slide. That's how to mend your heart. Playing someone else's part. The nameless in their rows pray for people they don't know. Just strangers in the Sacred Heart. Stranger in the sacred.